All right, let's get started. First of all, thank you so much for tuning into the Twitter Targeting Transformed webinar. And today is really about revolutionizing the way you connect with your audiences through Twitter ads. And I'd like to start with a question that we will want to answer today, and that is, are your Twitter ads targeted as relevant as they can be? Or can you further improve the accuracy and relevance of your targeting on Twitter? According to us, most likely you can. Twitter is different to other channels. And when we learn how to use these unique aspects of Twitter in your favor, Twitter can become the most powerful tool in your marketing arsenal. So I'm Thomas, I'm the founder of Social Database, and I will be presenting together with Duco, our COO, as well as with Reshma and Yuri, who are part of the business development team at Social Database. And together, over the past few years, we have helped many Twitter advertisers reach more relevant audiences on Twitter. And over $100 million in ad revenue has been associated with our targeting solution on Twitter. And we will share what we have learned from all these campaigns and audience with you today. The slide hasn't changed. It did here.
Let's double check.
We may have some issues with changing the slides already, but I'll just continue and we see if we can fix that. All right, all good. So, actually, if you want to know more about Twitter targeting, you're in the right place, and hopefully the slides will change a little bit faster when we go forward. I'll cover the agenda first. So, we will start this webinar with giving you a recap of all the changes of Twitter 2.0. Then we will give you an overview of all the Twitter targeting capabilities. And we will start with the ones that are natively available on Twitter. After that, Social Database will be introduced, and we will introduce Twitter Pro targeting as well. Afterwards, we will cover campaign setup and best practices, case studies, and obviously how to get started with using Pro targeting on Twitter. I think if I look at the team here, we still have some issues with slides and timing, but I think it's just slightly delayed, right? So we'll just continue as we go. Then please stay with us until the very end, because we will share a magic word with you. And if you use that word, you can actually make use of a pro targeting audience from Social Database for free. So stay until the end. We'll share the word, and please reach out to us with that word, and you can get free access to a super audience or pro targeting on Twitter. Also, before I hand over to Duco to cover Twitter 2.0, please ask your questions if you have any in the chat, and afterwards we will where will be the Q&A? The Q&A will be in the end. Thank you for the question. But please add your questions to the chat, and we will walk through them after the presentation. So, I'll hand over to Duco right now so he can cover the Twitter 2.0 activity.
Thanks, Thomas. So as Thomas already mentioned, we're going to tell you everything about targeting on Twitter. But before we go into more depth about targeting, we will tell you a bit more about Twitter as a platform. So on Twitter, there are around approximately 400 million active users, and these users spend 8 billion minutes per day. So quite a significant amount of time. Now, next to that, the audience on Twitter is incredibly valuable. So CEOs are active on Twitter, politicians are active on Twitter, journalists are active on Twitter. But next to these more generic audiences, the entire crypto community is active. The healthcare professionals are active on Twitter, and even smaller niche audiences like bird watchers are incredibly active on Twitter. And the best thing is all the data is publicly available. Twitter is about connecting. So all the audiences that are active on Twitter, they tap into the conversation within their relevant community. Professionals, for example, they are on Twitter to stay up to date about the news within their field. So whether these are the tech industry or healthcare professionals that are incredibly active on Twitter, no matter what, but they are on Twitter to stay up to date about what is happening in their field. Now, not everyone is maybe on Twitter yet, but every audience is active on Twitter. So there's always a possibility to tap into the conversation with your audience. Now then, a lot has happened since Elon Musk took over Twitter, obviously. Not everything was positive. So there were some concerns about bots, around bots, brand safety, content moderation. And for this reason, also many advertisers paused their ads in the period from November until January. It was for us great to hear that advertisers were already planning to come back in January and February based on all the changes that the platform did. And the good news as well is that Elon appointed Linda as the new CEO. And Linda is really a household name within the advertising industry. And the combination of Linda and Elon will probably take Twitter will probably take Twitter to the next level. Then in the past few months, Twitter launched many new product updates. Some were not that successful, some were very successful, but that is exactly what you need to make your product better. What we would like to do right now is we would like to give you an overview of the last product updates in the past few months. Probably there are many more updates already implemented on the platform, but we just would like to give you an overview. So one of them is keyword search targeting, where you can target users with a high intent, just like on Google. Twitter is going to pay subscribers, and I think that started yesterday or the day before yesterday, to support creators. Community notes is available to make sure that all the information is accurate on Twitter. Then they implemented many different changes to take care of brand safety concerns. Longer tweets are now available on Twitter. And a few other updates are adjacency, where you can exclude certain keywords to make sure that your content will not appear next to these keywords. Lower funnel measurement is better. Site visit and conversion optimization is already live, and the dynamic product ads are there as well. Then, from a consumer perspective, they also updated the Twitter list feature, where you can interact with a certain interest. Then the bookmarks, it's now possible to bookmark a certain tweet to make sure that you can save that tweet. The For You page, it improves significantly because the algorithm, is much better compared to what it used to be. The processing speed of your timeline is better. You can now change video playback speed on videos on Twitter. There are verified users to make sure to limit the number of bots, and obviously to make some revenue as well. You can upload longer videos. I believe it can already be up to 2 hours. Now you can see it in the screen as well. And companies do have their official company badge that is also available. It's the gold tick. Then Twitter also open sourced the code to just be transparent about what is happening on the platform, and the encrypted direct messages are available. I think all these changes are good for the platform and will make the platform more relevant, but next to that will make advertising also more relevant. That is the part about Twitter as a platform. I would like to hand it over to Thomas again, who will tell you more about the different targeting options.
All right, thanks, Duco. So all those updates from Twitter drive more users and more activity, and also drive more data points, which is very useful for Social Database to improve the audience that we built even further. But before we are going to dive into all the targeting options that Social Database can provide with this publicly available Twitter data, we would like to cover the basics of Twitter targeting first. So if you look at the Twitter targeting options on Twitter, there are basically 3 main ones that are being used in almost any case. Number 1 is keyword targeting. Number 2 is follower lookalike targeting. And number 3 is interest targeting. Then on top of those features, you can layer demographic targeting, such as gender, geolocation, language, specific devices, for instance. And there are some other targeting options as well, such as custom audiences, event targeting, movies and TV show targeting, or for instance, re-engagement targeting, where you can re-engage with previous impressions or engagements from campaigns that ran earlier. So let's look into Twitter lookalike or follower lookalike targeting first. This is one of the most frequently used targeting features on Twitter. And basically what you can do is you can add handles where you can target the followers from, but not just the followers, also the people that look like the followers of those accounts. And you need to bear in mind when you build an audience with lookalike targeting, you should think about who to include and who not to include, because if you include too many broad handles, the lookalike feature will make it even broader, and it will scale your campaign for sure, but it may not be as relevant as you want it to be. And we'll come back to that later. Then secondly, the keyword targeting, which is an extremely powerful targeting feature from a native feature from Twitter. You can use keywords and target people that search for those keywords, people that tweet about those keywords, but also recently implemented by Elon Musk and Twitter 2.0, you can engage with users that have engaged with keywords in other tweets. And all of that is part of Twitter keyword targeting. It can be very relevant if you know what keywords and what hashtags to include here. It can be challenging to scale this part though. And again, we will dive into details later. Then finally, interest targeting. So Twitter allows you to pick from 300 or 320 or so interests. And then you can target users that have engaged with such accounts on Twitter or such content on Twitter. It tends to be quite broad. So for bigger campaigns or campaigns with a large reach, it works pretty well. But it has some limitations, as you can imagine, as well. So that being said, it looks like it's great. Twitter offers a lot of cool targeting features. However, there is a challenge too, because Twitter targeting options are limited and are not enough in some cases for Twitter advertisers to really deliver relevant impressions and engagements. So there are a few missing features, such as job title targeting. There is, for instance, no way to do end-to-end targeting. So target and the Formula One interest and target the followers of a specific handle. You can just do or targeting with native targeting. Then there's also a lot of guesswork involved, because you need to come up with your handles and your keywords yourself. So a lot of advertisers guess what their audience may be interacting with. And in our minds, we believe you should not guess. You should know and improve the way you add those or make those decisions with Twitter targeting. Then scalability can be an issue in both directions. Sometimes the Twitter audience scales very broad and becomes irrelevant. And in other cases, it's just impossible to make it smaller, but extremely relevant. So to conclude, with just the native targeting tools, you're not fully in control if you're reaching out to the right audiences. So therefore, at Social Database, we decided to restructure the entire Twitter database. And we decided to do that because we wanted to build our own targeting features and gain our own knowledge about Twitter users. And we will let you know how we did that and how we created solutions that you can use on top of Twitter native targeting, or even together with Twitter native targeting, to optimize your ad relevance on Twitter. But before Yuri will actually dive into that, I would like to tell you a little bit more about Twitter data and the importance and the power of public Twitter data. Because once you understand that, you will have a better understanding on how we have built the pro targeting solutions. So I'll start with how we have structured the unstructured Twitter data, because pure Twitter data is vastly unstructured. And we structure this by looking at you are who you follow, you are what you like, you are what you tweet, and so on. And by looking at that, we can enrich the knowledge that we have from each and every Twitter user and make better decisions whether to include someone in a campaign or not. Then the Twitter database is like a pyramid. 1% of the Twitter users is followed by 99% of the Twitter users. So in order to structure this database, we started with the 1%. We wanted to know what it means if you follow Elon Musk, or what it means if you follow Lex Fridman, or what it means about you as a data scientist if you follow Andrew. And with this as a starting point, we could basically enrich the knowledge of the database, the Twitter database, quite fast, and then start scaling that out. Something else to consider here is that we have active tweeters on Twitter and we have passive users. So active tweeters may tweet about certain topics, but there is a lot of users that are online or active on Twitter every single day, but they're just there to see what is happening in the world and read tweets about their field of interest. And in the example of reaching Formula One fans on Twitter, for instance, if you would use keywords only and people who talk or tweet about Formula One only, you will find 5% of the total audience. 95% of the Formula One fans will not tweet about it. They are engaging with the content. They're following their race drivers where they are a fan of. But you only can find that 95% of the Formula One fans through passive behaviors and public behavior, not just tweet keywords, if that makes sense. And finally, we basically look at the Twitter database as a huge Sudoku puzzle. So every day we find more numbers in this puzzle, and we know more about Twitter users, where they live, what they like, where they work, what their job title is, what their interests are. And the more we know, the more there is to know. So ultimately, we're basically completing the Sudoku puzzle on Twitter to make our targeting products for advertisers better and more relevant every single day. All right, so use the power of public Twitter data in your favor and target your ads as relevant as they can be. That's what we are trying to do here. I hope the Twitter data story made sense. And now I would like to hand over to Yuri to introduce Social Database and Twitter Pro Targeting. So Yuri, go ahead.
Hi guys, thank you. So from here, I'll be talking a bit more in detail about the solution that we offer, in which we call the Twitter Pro Targeting. With Twitter Pro Targeting, you can build a range of different audiences beyond Twitter's native options. These include targeting based on job title and/or industries, such as CIOs and finance. Also, we can do account-based marketing, or in other words, company-level targeting based on your specified target account list. We can also tap into your company's competitor audience as well. And as you may know, demographic and interest targeting is an existing option on Twitter, but again, we can further refine the criteria based on income levels or family structures, such as parents with small kids. We can also distinguish the interest audience by its intensity level, such as the hardcore gamers or hardcore football fans. And lastly, as Thomas mentioned in the beginning, we can do an and targeting by combining these different targeting criteria. These are just some selection of examples, but feel free to reach out to see how we can help build your target audience on Twitter and what the size estimates would be. So how does our Twitter Pro targeting actually work? When we build out our audiences, they are structured into two tiers, the core audience and their surrounding influential community. It's important to note that Twitter is community-driven and a heavily interactive platform, which means that in most scenarios, the influential community is just as important as your core target audience. Let me show you how these different tiers of audience are shaped and delivered. So starting off with the core audience, this is the goal of your targeting. This part of the audience will be uploaded directly into your ad account as a custom audience segment. It consists of unique user IDs that match the desired audience description and therefore is the most highly relevant with utmost quality. Again, equally as important is the influential community, which is essentially the follower lookalikes of the top relevant handles. These handles are extracted from the custom audience itself, meaning that the handles we suggest have the highest density of followers that match your target audience, and essentially enabling you to tap into the most influential community surrounding the core audience group to drive conversations, maximize impact, and bringing scalability. Lastly is an optional component including in our Pro Targeting package is the exclusion audience, which can be leveraged in your campaign to minimize exposure towards undesired engagements. Hope this gives you a better idea of what to expect when utilizing our audiences. And moving on, I'll pass it on to Reshma to go into the details of our offerings.
Thank you, Yuri. Myself, Reshma, I'm very excited to introduce you all to Twitter's account-based marketing solution, which is tailored specifically for B2B campaigns. So business decision makers are more active on Twitter than on any other platform, which provides a unique opportunity for targeted marketing to these business decision makers. Twitter ABM is that cutting-edge solution that takes your ABM strategy to the next level. Imagine the potential if you're able to reach decision makers of thousands of companies on Twitter and also receive reporting on a company level on Twitter. You don't have to imagine it anymore because we can make that happen. Here, you can see a list of few job titles that we can reach on Twitter with LinkedIn level of accuracy, starting from CEO to managing directors to developers to any job title that you're looking for. Similarly, we can do the same kind of job title targeting within companies, such as targeting business decision makers of Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, etc. If you need to know the ABM possibility of your CRM list on Twitter, feel free to send us your existing ABM list and we will get back to you with the estimates. Now I will pass it on to Thomas to show you some interesting insights.
All right, thanks, Reshma. So whenever we deliver Twitter audiences, we will always deliver an audience size as well as audience insights. And those insights are meant to show you that, first of all, this audience is very active on Twitter. And secondly, that we found the users that you're actually looking for. And to give you a few examples, I will do something that is not smart to do in a webinar because I need to escape the presentation and go to our platform, but we'll do it anyway. So in this platform, I'm going to give you 2 audience examples to show you the insights for yourself. And I would almost say that this is the most powerful Twitter audience search engine that exists, because basically you can search each and every Twitter user in the world and you can find any audience that is active on Twitter. So I will start with an audience of CFOs in the United States. So imagine you're looking to target CFOs in the United States. You simply type that in the search bar. You hit enter, and our database will pull or find more than 500,000 CFOs on Twitter in the United States. You can see a lot of different insights. I'm not going to cover them all, but you can go to sample accounts, for instance, and you can see the men and women, including their profile picture and their public Twitter bio in this list to see if this is actually the CFO audience that you're looking to target. Then next to that, you can go to influential accounts and figure out what kind of accounts are mainly followed by CFOs in the United States on Twitter. And obvious accounts such as @CFO or the Fast Company or @Inc. are obviously accounts that are followed mainly by CFOs. And this list goes on and on and on. And we use all of this information, including the demographic insights that you can pull from here and the interest that you can pull from here to find all these CFOs on Twitter and allow you to reach them at high accuracy. Then the last example that I'd like to give you is Formula One fans. Because let's see if I should do it like this. Let's enter Formula One, and this way we find 12 to 18 million Formula One fans on Twitter. And again, similar to the CFOs, we can look into their profiles of the users within the audience on Twitter. We can look into Formula One influential accounts that are mainly being followed and engaged with by the audience, and so on. So this is a tool where you can search your audience yourself, but also if our team builds the audience for you, you can basically go to the audience in our platform and see every single insight that we can pull from the public Twitter data. So going back to the presentation, and I need to put it in presenter mode again. Let's see if this will work out as planned. All right. Yes, there we go. So handing over to Reshma to talk about campaign performance.
Thank you, Thomas. As mentioned before, pro-targeting closes the bridge between relevancy and scale, which would improve the overall campaign performance. But there are also a few other factors that has to be kept in mind while setting up the campaign to achieve optimum results. So the first thing to note is a full funnel approach. In Twitter, warming up the audience is a gradual process, and that can impact the performance, especially if the campaign is lower funnel focused. Hence, it's important to prioritize running at least one awareness or consideration phase before initiating a lower funnel campaign. The second one is the creatives. Success is reached when the desired audiences is served with the best and most relevant content for them. It is recommended to have at least 3 to 5 assets with a combination of static, arousal, and video, so there will not be an issue of creative fatigue. So to summarize, if you're thinking of long-term advertising on Twitter, you need pro-targeting to reach your right audience. Next to that, you need a full funnel approach to educate your audience, and finally, creative variations to keep them in the hook. Now I'm moving on to some case studies we've had in the past. Due to the time constraint, I will cover only one B2C case study and one B2B case study. And if you would like to know more cases relevant to your particular industry, do feel free to reach out to us. So yes, we love Formula One. Starting off with the B2C example for all the Formula One fans out here. This was a pre-roll amplify video of Heineken together with Formula One, where they wanted to distinguish between hardcore Formula One fans and casual Formula One fans for the Grand Prix. So using Twitter Pro targeting, we could leverage a detailed analysis of Twitter data. So as Thomas mentioned a few slides before, 95% of the Formula One fans will not actively engage on Twitter, but they will be connected to the relevant Formula One accounts. For example, someone like me, who's a casual follower, might follow just Lewis Hamilton or Max Verstappen, whereas a hardcore fan would follow at least 10 to 20 Formula One accounts on Twitter. Through this methodology, we could help Heineken reach the hardcore Formula One fans, resulting in over 300% higher engagement rates and improved video completion rates. Thus, Heineken successfully reached and interacted with its target audience. Moving on to the B2B case study of ABN AMRO, which is a finance client, where they wanted to target business decision makers across healthcare, agriculture, and technology. Through pro-targeting, we could identify and target those business decision makers within the respective industries, which resulted in 93% higher link click rate, reduced bounce rates, extended site visits, and overall better quality conversions. The results is a clear indication that the audiences consisted of the exact business decision maker that ABN AMRO wanted to reach. So to recap, our expertise lies in effectively reaching diverse audiences that enhance your campaigns. Now I will hand over to Duco, where he will walk you through in detail of the process.
Thank you, Reshma. Yeah, so if you would like to start utilizing our audiences, it's quite straightforward. So the first and the most important step is to start sharing your audience briefing with us. And you can do that in every stage of the planning, the planning process. So if you just want to discover some audience ideas, you can reach out to us. If you already have a clear campaign briefing with a very clear audience, you can reach out to us. And if your campaign is not performing, then you can also reach out to us. And that is all for free. What we will do is we will share some audience insights and estimates. Like Thomas just shared in the dashboard, we will create a dashboard for you, share the insights, and based on that, you can make a decision, or your client can make a decision whether you would like to start using the audiences. Now, once you confirmed pro targeting, we will upload the audiences into your advertising account, and we will share the optimized targeting list. And from there, you can just start running your campaign. Now, when it comes to pricing, we have 2 types of pricing models. One pricing is if your ad spend is below a certain amount. So, for example, if your ad spend is below $1,000 a month, the fee is only $100 a month. The good news is if your campaign budget exceeds $20K, then you can make use of pro targeting for free. And then probably the best part, and probably this is the only reason that you have been waiting for like 30 minutes to listen to this story, but the magic word or magic letter actually, to utilize an audience is X. So just mention the letter X when you reach out to us, and you will get a free audience.
I'm sure if you would ask Elon Musk, then X is a word, not a letter. But I hope to see a lot of emails with the word X coming through, because that means you will get a free audience that you can test for yourself on Twitter. I will now stop sharing my screen to start the Q&A. So let's stop the screen share. Okay, that's better. And I had seen a lot of questions coming in already. And the first question was, will there be a Q&A? Well, here it is. We'll get started. I also see that our team answered a few questions. So let's just start at the top and see what we need to cover. Is there any specific, Duco, you think we should cover first?
Yeah, there was one. Yeah, this question from
Gigit, sorry if I don't say your name correctly, but this is a good question. With Twitter 2.0, it seems there are important changes with the ad platform, especially removing the handle targeting on the audiences and adding a mobile advertising ID instead of seems to be the most important. Do you know about the user-specific targeting restrictions will continue, or can we still target with handle? I think you refer to the custom audience matching process, right? Where you could earlier match advertiser IDs and handles, and now you can't do that anymore on default. So to be honest, only Twitter knows if this is going to be there or not. It would make sense to me if it would be available for official partners, official ads API partners, as well as for large and controlled advertisers, because I know that the reason why they removed this or wanted to remove this is that it has been misused by a lot of small advertisers that could not be fact-checked. So, but I think it will remain available, but then through your Twitter account manager or through a official Twitter Ads API partner. But again, only Twitter knows. Anything to add there, Duke? Or
no, that's
no?
clear. There was another question from Joel about end targeting,
yes,
or targeting, and then about what is not possible.
Okay, I see. So, Joel, first of all, thanks for being so active and joining us. It's really good to see you here. So, your question is, can we do end interest targeting? So, can we narrow down our audience to make sure that they have a few interests, such as cybersecurity and technology and software? The answer is yes. So with Twitter native targeting, it's not possible. With social database pro targeting, it is possible. So we can make combinations such as cybersecurity and technology and software. We can also do Formula One fans that are playing golf or CEOs that like to watch football. So we can make those layers and narrow down audiences on Twitter. The only thing you need to keep in mind, Joel, is that you cannot unlimitedly layer audiences, because the audience will get smaller and smaller and smaller, and at some point the audience becomes too small to target. So we will always advise you in how many layers you should add, and we do that on a case-by-case basis. But end targeting is something we apply all the time on Twitter. All right. Oh, yeah, Maureen also covered that, I see, but now we covered it for the whole group. So what is not possible? Well, not a lot is possible, and the cool part and why that is possible is that Twitter is so unique in the way they handle data. They're the largest public Twitter database in the world, and because of their public nature, they allow partners like us tap into the data and really make something unique or something new from that. So therefore, a lot is possible, and if it's not possible, we can still look into it to see if we can make it possible. With your audience optimized. So Matthias asked, can you use your conversion data from campaigns we run with your audiences to optimize an additional audience buy? Do you understand the question correctly?
Yeah. So I think that is up until now that is not possible, because that data is not publicly available data. So that is not data that we can use. What we can do is analyze the performance of that specific campaign and test with the different audiences. But we cannot one-on-one match your conversion data and do something with the data.
Yeah, so that's something we would love to have, but I think it's also a data privacy thing. So we see number of clicks, number of engagements, a number of conversions, but not who converted or who clicked or who engaged. So yeah. A LinkedIn user says, can your Twitter audiences only be used in Twitter campaigns, or can they also be used on other social media platforms? Yes, that's a very good question. So as a Twitter partner, we have a Twitter-only solution, and we're not allowed to match Twitter data with custom audiences on other channels. However, what you can do is use our platform to look into the insights that are generated from Twitter audiences, learn from their interests, their demographics, their influential accounts they follow, and use that information to make smarter targeting decisions on other channels. We see our clients do that. And that is a way to optimize your audience on other channels, but we do not one-on-one match people from Twitter on other channels. We're not allowed to, and we're not trying to. Then another question from Joel, can we integrate our HubSpot contact stages, etc., so we can target unique ads based on where they are on the sales cycle? I think, unfortunately, that is one of those things that is not possible. You can do this based on website traffic, so what pages they visited and not, but we can unfortunately not connect it to your HubSpot list. And if I find a way to do it, I'll let you know. But I don't know a way, and I've never seen any advertiser doing that with us as well. So sorry, Joel, not everything is possible. And Evelyn mentioned that it's an excellent webinar. So thank you so much, Evelyn, and thanks for joining. All right, then Racheli has a question. Do accounts using social database access the product betas from Twitter? That's a very good question. So we work very much hand in hand with Twitter, especially on the large accounts. And if you have an advertiser that has a potential to do something really nice on Twitter, we can definitely work together with our contacts at Twitter or the relevant client partner or account manager to unlock beta features. So it's not possible for every account, unfortunately, but if you feel an opportunity, then let us know. I see Imar coming in. Great content, everyone. Excited to see some of the products being used more effectively in the market. Thank you so much, Imar, from Twitter, for saying that. That's really, really nice. And great to see you on the webinar as well. All right, some more thanks. Thanks, Salil. Thank you so much. I see a question. Are there any limitations or restrictions when using Twitter's advanced targeting? Restrictions in terms of what? Can you think of any limitations or restrictions when using Twitter's advanced targeting? I would say the limit is the number of people that are part of that audience. So if you use Twitter's advanced targeting and you're reaching out to CEOs, we probably find 1.1 or 1.2 million CEOs on Twitter. That's the total CEO universe. So the limitation there is that if you try to scale a campaign up to 10 or 20 million people, that's not the way to do it with Twitter's advanced targeting. However, what we in that case can do is find the community around those CEOs as well, which is very relevant to include as well. This could be he or her direct colleagues, other business decision makers from those companies, and that way we could scale and go beyond those limits when you use Twitter's advanced targeting. But Salil, if you mean something else with limitations, let me know, and we can look into it. Then a quick question from Leah. Quick question, is that possible if a client only wants to target their own followers? Yes, that is possible. So we can include just the followers of one single account in an audience. We can do that from your competitors, from other public accounts, or your own account. So that is possible, but note that I'm not sure how many followers you have, but the audience size will be limited to the number of active followers within your Twitter account. Joel, another question. Can we see insights of my clients' competitors' Twitter ads? We do a lot of competitive research for clients and would love to include this. I can see what you want to do there. So we can look into the followers of your competitors or your clients' competitors. So we can make insights of the total followers of your competitors or segments of the followers of your competitors, but we cannot see their ad activity. So yeah, that's something we cannot see or share. Then Abigail, is there a limit to how many custom audience SDB will help a client create with the base subscription pricing? Yes, maybe the base subscription pricing need a little bit more detail or a little bit more explanation. If you go to our platform on dashboard.socialdatabase.com, you can go to our pricing and then you can calculate your monthly price. So I think the $100 monthly subscription starts with 3 active audiences, and you can easily scale it up to, I think, 20 or 25 audiences, and then the monthly fee will slightly go up for each audience that you add. And this only counts for active audiences. So if you use 5 audiences at the same time, you just need to have 5 active audiences. This may, for a $100 subscription, this may mean that you go to $110, for instance. But you will calculate that for yourself. You can change it every month. Matthias, can you talk a little bit about your pricing model? Okay, so that's a good follow-up question because we were just talking about pricing. So we have a monthly fee if you use our platform to manage your own audiences. And this monthly fee depends on your monthly advertising budget on Twitter, as well as the number of audiences. And the level or the advertising budget that you use on Twitter, that's the main factor. So if you spend no more than €1,000 a month on Twitter, you can step in very cheap and use your audience for $100 a month. But if your budget scales, our pricing scales as well. So the more you spend on Twitter, the more you make use of our audiences, and the more you pay Social Database to optimize your targeting. I think the good news here is that our audiences will never be more than about 10% of the media spend, and you can be 2x, 3x, sometimes 10 times more effective when using our audiences. So you will earn that monthly feedback immediately when running campaigns on Twitter. Then for the bigger accounts, as Duco mentioned, if your media spend on Twitter is above $20,000, that is the moment when we can probably make you part of our larger advertiser program, where you don't have to pay for audiences or for the use of our audiences. All right, a few more thanks. Thank you, Natalie, for joining. Can we send online surveys to B2B audiences to collect their insights, or can we run a recruitment for such surveys? Can we send online surveys to B2B audiences to collect their insights? Yes, you can, for sure. So there's different ways in doing that. You can have a survey that is, for instance, hosted on a page or a landing page, and you can use Twitter website cards to promote the survey and redirect them to the survey. I think a more native way of doing it is to use Twitter polls. And this way, the user can answer questions in your Twitter polls. So you can do this in a thread, so you can ask multiple questions at the same time. But then the user doesn't have to go to your landing page. So you usually get more response to that. There's also a third option, and this is something we are piloting. I'm not sure if the team is happy that I'm talking about this, by the way, but we tried to get to ask questions through Twitter DM with an automated DM conversation. So that is also a way of collecting answers from questions and run a survey. We're running surveys ourselves as well with third parties when we do brand lift studies to measure the brand impact for campaigns. And by the way, guys, if you see a question that you want to answer, then feel free to jump in, okay? Let's see, a random question then. Can we get targeting we create in Social Database for Twitter ads and have it exported as a Twitter list, so I can also engage with them organically on Twitter? So you cannot export the entire group or the entire audience, because this includes, in a lot of cases, hundreds of thousands or millions of people. What you can do is go to our platform, do a search query, and make a list of the most relevant users from that audience. We even made a feature where you can automatically add those users to your list. And maybe, as this is quite a relevant question, Joel, what I will do, I'll share my screen and show to all of you how this works. So let's stick to the Formula One example, as we've been using it a lot today. So Formula One, I'll just find the 12 million people relevant for Formula One again. Then if you go to influential accounts right here, you will see the most relevant Formula One accounts that are active on Twitter. On this button, Joel, you can save this to a Twitter list automatically. You can decide to save the entire list or the entire user base, which includes 1,485 of the most relevant Formula One fans, and add them to a single list. You can create a new Twitter list right here or add it to your existing lists, or you can pick and choose the ones that you want to add to your list from those list of influential accounts, and then add only the selection to your Twitter lists. We believe that this is like the most easiest way to build the most powerful Twitter lists. But to be completely honest with you, we don't have a lot of users using it yet because no one knows that the button is there. So therefore, probably also your question, Joel. But hopefully you will give it a try because it's really cool to build Twitter lists like that. Okay. Can we target rapidly growing accounts? Yes, that is possible. We can find accounts that are rapidly growing and build a custom audience based on that. This is probably a niche audience, so it will be relatively small, and you need to think about different goals and objectives when reaching such an audience, but it is possible. Can we target frequent tweeters? Yes, we can target frequent tweeters. So we can really make decisions on we only want to reach out to users that are tweeting 5 times a day or 10 times a day or 2 times a month. We can make those segments in our database and upload them into a Twitter audience. Okay, Evelyn, good question. Could you clarify whether 20K media spend is bound to a specific time frame, which you need to spend 20K in a limited amount of time to get the audience packs for free? Well, it doesn't have a real limit. It could be a few weeks. It could even be a quarter, for instance. It can be a longer period of time, but it has to be part of the same campaign. So it cannot be that there is like 2 entirely different campaigns that are running in multiple ad groups on Twitter, and that the 20K is spent on all of those different campaigns. So if it's one campaign that uses the 20K or more budget, then it can be spent over multiple months. That's not a problem. And Evelyn, if you have a specific case in mind, feel free to reach out to us because we can look at the case specifically and see if it can be part of the audience pack, the free audience pack. And in some cases, we can also make exceptions. So if you have a client in mind, feel free to reach out to our team. And that was, I think, Evelyn, you may have a contact at Social Database, but otherwise sales@socialdatabase.com will work. More questions. I like it. We'll just continue, and you can hop off if it's enough. So, can we target only to company handles and/or those with a gold verification only, or any verification? Joel, you're starting to ask the smart questions, and what's really cool is 2 weeks ago we implemented this. We ran it through the entire database, and now we can target based on blue, gold, or gray verified. So we can make that targeting decision. And again, be smart with what you request because audiences that are too small are not interesting to target. But yes, we can include a gold or blue or gray verification as part of the targeting criteria. So how deep can we target the audience? Will it be able to target audiences by their education, income, purchase behavior? That's a really good question, Leah. And yes, we can, but with a note, and that is that those selections are based on not estimations, but or educated guesses. How do you say that? We have a specific or a level of certainty in which we can define the level of education or level of income. So if you're looking to target an audience with a higher level of income or a higher level of education, we can do that. It may include some users that behave like someone with a higher income level because it's purely based on behavior, but we can focus on that and it usually works well. We've built a lot of audiences around high net worth individuals for Credit Suisse, for instance, and for other large advertisers. So finding high net worth individuals, for instance, is possible. Joel wants to know more about the DM ads. These would be great for event targeting. Yes, so it's a beta feature that we've only used for our own campaigns, Joel. So basically what we built is you can send a tweet with a website card that is not going or redirecting to your landing page, but is redirecting to your DM environment. So users stay on Twitter. Then when you land on the DM environment, there is an automated message that will pop up, and that automated message can be anything. You decide on that. And then there is auto answers that you can do as well. So they can say yes, no, or other things that you prepare. And this way you can have a conversation with a user that is coming from an ad, but on Twitter, within Twitter DM and not outside. So if you want to test it, Joel, feel free to reach out. We'll give it a try. And who knows, we may launch this as a real product later on. The list, can we target people who changed jobs recently like you can on LinkedIn? Probably, but I'm not sure how scalable that is. We can walk to the audience team later and see what they have to say. Maybe they're not too excited about this question. Duke, what do you think?
Because we build audiences based on behavior, it can take some time for the user to change its behavior. So let's say if I worked for Social Database yesterday and tomorrow I have another job, then my behavior needs to change, and that is the moment that we can see a difference.
That makes sense. Thanks. Yeah, really cool to see Imar being excited about batch targeting, because batches are new, so batch targeting is new too. Since 2 weeks we can do it. We did not try it for a client yet, so but it is possible, Imar, and I believe we have about 600,000 or 800,000 blue verified accounts on Twitter right now in the database that can be targeted. So just know that is your maximum audience size when targeting blue verified users. But yeah, it's a really cool feature, and Twitter should ask a lot of money for reaching those users, because I think those are high valued Twitter users. Which B2B audiences are most active on Twitter?
I think audiences within the tech industry are incredibly active. So that is, I think, the most active audience on Twitter. Yeah, but next to that, you have multiple audience. It also depends on the type of audience. But yeah, we always take healthcare professionals as an example as well. They are incredibly active, and they are on Twitter to stay up to date about everything. Yeah, what other B2B audience? What are the most requested B2B audiences are actually business decision makers in general.
And maybe, and this may not answer the question, but it's related to B2B audiences on Twitter. It's like, let's look at the CEO example again. So on LinkedIn, you may find 5 or 6 million CEOs that are targetable on LinkedIn. When we look on Twitter, we can find 1.1 or 1.2 million CEOs. So it seems like the number of CEOs active on Twitter is smaller. And if you look at the number of unique users, that is actually true. However, those 5 million CEOs on LinkedIn may be online every month to update their network or DM a contact. But those 1.1 million CEOs on Twitter are active on Twitter every single day. They engage with their colleagues and their competitors, and they're tweeting and engaging with the conversation. So there is a much bigger opportunity to reach those BDMs on Twitter. And Twitter and B2B is just such a powerful combination. And what we try to do with bringing job title targeting and seniority level targeting to Twitter is to really help B2B advertisers tap into this extreme power of Twitter when it comes to B2B advertising. So there's some advertisers that are making making use of this already very successfully, and we're now trying to scale that and help all B2B advertisers reach LinkedIn level accuracy audiences on Twitter. I think we're almost almost done. Joel asked if there's procurement buyers committee targeting. Sounds very niche to me, but I think worth to give a try. We may be able to find a small community there. Job change is not scalable, but it's always excited to make fast changes when they join. I agree. And then a final question that I can see here is, can I target people who subscribe, pay extra to content creators? They are more likely to not be cheap. I like the logic there. It's not part of our capabilities yet, but if it's in the public data, if it's in the data that we access through Twitter APIs, we should be able to build that. So maybe in the future, Joel. All right, I think we covered a lot of questions, and I really enjoyed the level of engagement here. So everyone who's still online, thank you so much for joining and asking all of those great questions. Yeah, it was really cool to share more about Twitter data and pro-targeting and how we can help make Twitter ads more relevant for you as an advertiser. So again, I think we mentioned it enough, but feel free to reach out to any of us or sales@socialdatabase.com, and we're really happy to help to make your Twitter ads perform better. Thanks again, and we'll end the webinar right now. Have a good day. Bye-bye.